What if I told you that every major war in the last century had someone who needed it to happen? Not the soldiers dying in trenches, not the families watching their homes turn to rubble, not the refugees crossing borders in the dark. Someone else, someone behind a desk, someone whose stock portfolio got a little bit heavier every time a bomb dropped. War is sold to us as a fight for freedom, for democracy, for justice. But what if, for the most powerful people on Earth, war is just business? Let's start with governments, because they wrote the playbook. During World War I, the United States government created the Committee on Public Information, a propaganda machine dedicated to one goal: make the American people want to fight a war they initially wanted nothing to do with. They hired artists, journalists, psychologists. They flooded newspapers with stories of German atrocities, many of them fabricated. They produced films, posters, school curriculums. The conscious and intelligent manipulation of the organized habits and opinions of the masses is an important element in democratic society. Edward Bernays, the father of modern propaganda, 1928. Bernays wasn't theorizing, he was describing what he himself had done, helping the US government turn public opinion from isolationism to war fever in less than 2 years. The formula was simple then, and it is still simple now. Find an enemy, aim them, dehumanize them, then tell your citizens that their freedom, their way of life, depends on destroying that enemy. Fast forward to 2003, the United States invades Iraq. The justification?
Saddam Hussein was a bad guy, right? He was a bad guy, really bad guy.
Saddam Hussein has weapons of mass destruction, chemical weapons, biological agents, maybe even nuclear capabilities. The intelligence, we were told, was solid. Undeniable. It wasn't, but by then, over 200,000 Iraqi civilians were dead. 4,400 American soldiers were gone. And the companies that built the bombs, the tanks, the jets, and the bases had made hundreds of billions of dollars. Now let's talk about the media, because governments don't spread propaganda alone. They have help. After 9/11, the Pentagon launched a program called the Pentagon Military Analyst Program. They briefed retired generals who now worked as paid television commentators, and coached them on what messages to deliver to the American public. These men appeared on NBC, ABC, CBS, CNN, Fox News. Millions watched them, and almost none of those viewers knew that these independent military experts were receiving classified Pentagon briefings, had financial ties to the very defense companies that profited from the wars they were endorsing. During the Iraq War, thousands of journalists were embedded directly with military units. The access was incredible, the footage was exclusive, the stories were powerful. But there was a catch. Embedded reporters had to follow military guidelines. They couldn't report on certain locations, they couldn't show certain casualties. Their reports were reviewed before publication. You got to see the war, just the version the military wanted you to see. And today, the battlefield has moved to your phone. During the Russia-Ukraine war, both sides deployed massive social media operations. Deep fake videos circulated, fake casualty numbers spread, governments paid social media influencers to amplify specific narratives, bots flooded hashtags. The fog of war is no longer just on the battlefield. It is in your feed, in your algorithm, in your outrage. The question is no longer what is happening. The question is, who wants you to believe this version of what's happening? In 2022, the year Russia invaded Ukraine, the 5 largest U.S. defense contractors collectively earned over $200 billion in revenue. Lockheed Martin alone reported profits of over $5.7 billion in a single year. Raytheon, Boeing, Northrop Grumman, General Dynamics, L3 Technologies. These companies don't just build weapons. They lobby Congress. They fund think tanks. They pay for research that recommends military solutions to political problems. Between 2001 and 2021, the United States spent over $8 trillion on post-9/11 wars. That's $8 trillion. Where did it go? We've arranged a system in which our military spending is no longer connected to our national security. It's connected to our economy. William Hartung, defense analyst, Center for International Policy. It is not a conspiracy, it is not hidden, it is legal, and it is the architecture of how modern warfare decisions are actually made. Here's what's remarkable. This isn't a new concern. In 1961, as he was leaving office, President Dwight D. Eisenhower, a five-star general, the supreme commander of Allied forces in World War II, gave the American people a warning. In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. President Dwight D. Eisenhower. The man who knew war better than almost anyone in history was warning America about the companies that profit from it. 60 years later, that warning was not heeded. History is full of moments where the justification for war was constructed. The USS Maine battleship explodes in Havana Harbor. American newspapers, particularly those owned by media mogul William Randolph Hearst, immediately blame Spain. Remember, the Maine becomes the war cry. The Spanish-American War begins. Historians later concluded the explosion was most likely an accident, but by then, the US had seized Cuba, Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Philippines. The Gulf of Tonkin. President Lyndon B. Johnson tells Congress that North Vietnamese forces attacked U.S. ships twice. Congress passes the Gulf of Tonkin Resolution, giving Johnson authorization to escalate the Vietnam War. Declassified documents later showed the second attack, almost certainly 100% certain, never happened. 58,000 Americans died in Vietnam. Millions of Vietnamese civilians perished. Notice the pattern. An incident occurs, real or manufactured. Outrage is amplified by media. Propaganda frames the enemy as an existential threat. Public support is manufactured, war is authorized, and the contracts are signed. This is not a theory. This is documented history. The cycle repeats, with different names, different countries, and different enemies, but the same architecture underneath. The enemy changes, the prophets don't. So who actually benefits from war? Not the soldier who comes home with PTSD and can't access health care? Not the Iraqi family who lost their home to a cruise missile? Not the American taxpayer funding a $700 billion annual defense budget? The beneficiaries are specific. They sit in boardrooms, they write checks to political campaigns, they are invited to state dinners, they are profoundly, structurally insulated from the consequences of the wars they profit from. And this is the most important thing to understand. It is not that these people are not as good as they think they are evil. It is that the system rewards them for war and punishes them for peace. When the bombs stop falling, the contracts end. Peace is not a business model. Since 2001, the wars in Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, and Pakistan have killed over 900,000 people directly and displaced more than 38 million. 38 million human beings, more than the entire population of California, uprooted. And none of them have a seat at table where wars are decided. None of this means every war is unjust. None of this means soldiers who fought believed in anything less than what they were told. It means that the decision to go to war, that decision is made at a distance from the dying, by people who will not die, by systems that reward war and are indifferent to its cost. And it means that propaganda is not a relic of World War I. It is alive. It is sophisticated. It is in your television, your social media, your 24-hour news cycle. The question has never been, are we being told the truth about this war? The question is, who benefits from the version of truth we are being told? The next time a war begins and you are told it is about freedom, ask yourself one question: whose freedom?